Hi guys, I'm so happy to see you all again. And if you remember, last time we were in my lounge and we were having a conversation about how we're all going to be raising our game and how we're going to be embracing digital transformation. But in that conversation, we also realized that maybe there's a need just to pause first, to really just unpack what is digital transformation exactly. Most importantly, what does it mean in the context of small business? And so that's why I'm here at the Cisco Edge Center at the Innovation Hub in Pretoria. I have asked to meet with some of the leading voices from Cisco and Axiz, and I'm asking them to simplify digital transformation for small businesses. And that's exactly the conversation that we're going to be having today. So here we are at the Cisco Edge Center, and what a privilege that in the middle of very, very busy schedules, we've managed to get some of the most important voices for the conversation and the journey that we're on. I'm going to introduce them very shortly, and I'm going to start off on my right with Shelly Wandless. And so Shelly is Cisco's small business lead, and she looks after South Africa and Egypt. Shelly, what a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me, Nozi.
And on my left is Jacques Malherbe. He is Axiz's Chief Technology Officer. Jacques, lovely to have you.
Thank you, Nozi.
Awesome. And then I'm going to go back to my right to Andrew Moodley, who is Axiz's Chief Digital Officer. Nice to have you, Andrew.
Thank you.
And I know you're probably asking what's the difference between a digital officer and a technology officer. Don't worry, we're going to unpack all of that. Last but certainly not least is Adeshni Rohit. She is the Cisco Business Unit Executive at Axiz. Adeshni, lovely to have you.
Thank you, Nazi.
So gentlemen, let's clear the air first, because I can imagine there's a lot of questions about these titles. What does being a Chief Technology Officer mean, and how is it different from a Chief Digital Officer? So Andrew, you can go first.
The colloquial one is the Chief Digital Officer does all the cool stuff. Yeah, but I think that in a business like ours or the industry like ours, the focus of organizations needs to be distilled, but also laser focused. So I'll let Jacques speak for himself, but the digital guy thinks forward to what's happening in the world of digital, and then how is that relevant to our business, and you try to contextualize the behaviors of the digital office to how do you enhance the digital strategy of an organization versus the stuff that Jacques does.
Fantastic. So let's get to the stuff. You see how he's just downsized everything that you do. But talk to us a little bit about the technology part, Jacques.
Nozi, if I have to take his descriptor and just go, it's all the uncool.
Love it.
And really, it's really to try and sift through all the technology that's available in the world out there and pick those that make sense for businesses and how can businesses use that technology. And so that's the job really, is trying to make sense of there's so much out there. What is it that we can use today?
So I want to make sure that the ladies don't have any FOMO, that their portfolios and their titles haven't been unpacked. So bear with me for a second. Small business, what does this mean from a day-to-day business? What is your focus? What do you look at?
So for Cisco, small business means a passion for small businesses. So we want to enable those businesses to adopt technology. This is not just for big players, it's for small businesses out there to enable technology to do great things, drive efficiencies in their businesses, and Cisco is extremely dedicated to help these folks out there. Small businesses wear plenty of different hats, and we are there for the IT components of that.
Fantastic. So certainly Shelly's portfolio is speaking to all of us. We certainly want to be part of that community of small businesses that are out winning in the economy. And then the interesting thing, Adeshni, is that, of course, that there's a relationship that you're managing between Cisco and Axiz. What's the focus of your portfolio?
So our focus at Axiz is distribution. So we work in a channel environment where we offer products and solutions and services to our Cisco registered partners, who in turn then service the end customer market, and you being one of them, a business owner.
So fantastic. So you're the lady that makes sure that we get what we need and it gets to us at the right time, in the right packaging, in the right format. So that's really incredible. So I want us to get into our big question, because our big question has been, can we simplify digital transformation? Can we make it a little bit more accessible? Can we bring it within reach for small and medium-sized enterprises? And so maybe, Andrew, let's come to the cool stuff, you know, and what I'd like you to do is to give us the simplest definition of digital transformation. What are we talking about exactly?
Yeah, and going back to what does a digital officer do versus a technology officer, I think it'll make more sense. Digital transformation is not so much about a thing, but more about a way of doing things. And I think that a lot of people or a lot of organizations get stuck with associating digital with technology. But it's more than just technology, it's about people, processes, and technology. So reinventing how we use those tools, if I can call it that, given that we live in a world now where technology is ubiquitous. And we are used to things always being online, available, as we want it, pay for use, etc. So digital transformation is how we take this, how we live in our secular lives, essentially everyday lives. How do we live there and how do we bring that into a business to make us now relevant using these tools and this way, this cultural way of behaving? So digital transformation essentially is companies understanding that this is the way people live, and then how do we transform our businesses to behave that way?
Fantastic. So I love how you're bringing about the behavioral element to say it doesn't start with technology, it actually starts with humanity.
Yeah, exactly.
If you will, and then being able to respond to that. But the technology piece then becomes the enabler and becomes very, very important, Jacques. And so the question to you is, how does technology then become an enabler for success and for growth and for expansion for small businesses?
Yeah, and I think I'll latch on to into Andrew's point that it's behavioral on the one side. So it's got to do with how we think about business and how we think we can improve your business, and to think beyond the possibilities of today. For not many of the audience, there was a time when we actually wrote letters. And so if you wanted to communicate to somebody distant, we had to write a letter, put it in an envelope, buy a stamp, put a stamp on, send the letter to whoever we wanted to contact, and then wait another month for the reply. Now imagine the cost and the involvement of human beings touching it, delivering it, picking it up. Where does it go? Today we send an email, so you can see the difference how technology enabled that communication. So not only does it make it instantaneous, but it also makes it cheap and very cost effective, because now we don't have to go through all the physical activities to communicate. We just write the email and off the email goes. And technology is an enabler in that sense. It strips time out, it strips a lot of physical handling out, and it makes it instantaneous and valuable to the user. And that's why we love our phones. You use a funny word, I Google it immediately. Right? I can find out immediately. It's instant access. Now imagine if we take all of that and apply that to our businesses. And that's where we get the advantage in our business in terms of being super able to know things, super able to reach things, find things that we couldn't find, know where things are, and then take and add our value and present that to customers immediately. And that's the key that we're talking about. How do we enable these small businesses with technology to get out of the letter writing world?
So Jacques, I think that's absolutely fascinating, but I'm hearing a lot of agreement in sound coming from Andrew. Is there anything you wanted to add to this, Andrew?
Yeah, I like the perspective that, you know, a lot of companies, and when we're engaging, we find that the technology is this thing that is mystical, and then it's something that is for somebody else to use. And the perspective that Jacques has is we shouldn't look to technology to try and understand it. We should look to technology of how it empowers us. And I like that perspective that comes across, that technology is not this thing that's mystical, but more it's a thing that is there to enable us to be more successful in whatever context our businesses are in currently.
Well, I love that. And when I go back even to my journey, which I've been sharing with you guys, is thinking about how, you know, prior to actually getting onto this journey of really embracing digital transformation, my biggest worry was, can I be in Geneva and then in New York in the same week? and can I service my clients with the limitations that I had in terms of physical travel. And now the biggest constraint has been reduced, almost flattened really, because all I need to do is consult my calendar and figure out, do I have 15 minutes at the very most to transition, get a cup of coffee from one conversation to another. And to Jacques' point, and to Andrew's point, being able to now access spaces and conversations that otherwise I wasn't able to, because technology has enabled that. So as we go through this journey, think about the different parts of your business and how technology can help you redefine how you add even more value to your own clients. So I want to pick up now on the study that has just come out. I want you to tell us a little bit about it, because I've had an opportunity to really just squiz through it, and I was absolutely fascinated at this idea that there's a snapshot essentially that's been taken of the 8 leading economies to really get a sense of how small businesses in these 8 economies are actually responding to digital transformation. So let's start off with, why was this important? Why did Cisco feel that we needed to do a study at this point in time focusing on small business?
So interesting enough, Nazi, with the pandemic, obviously there was a lot of disruption and it created a lot of uncertainty. So small businesses were kind of forced to go into the digital transformation earlier on than they were planning to. And as there's not a lot of information out there around small businesses, Cisco commissioned the IDC to go and really find 3 answers that we would like to answer. And one being was, what are the opportunities and challenges these small businesses face? 2 being, should they start to adopt digital transformation, what would that look like on the economy? And 3, what was their readiness to start going through this journey? So actually, like just reading through the stats, and I'm going to take it, as you said, it was out of 8 global economies, but Cisco is part of BRICS, so we can be seen as following the Latin American economy. And the stats that came out of that were phenomenal. So we used an index, so I just want to explain to the audience like what index, maturity index did we use. The first one being a digital indifference. So to all the small businesses out there, what does that mean? It means that your business, you didn't really have a plan, you were working very manual, you were making investments on spur of the moment, means that you are digital indifferent. The second maturity level would be a digital observer. A digital observer was looking at a plan, was procuring some cloud resources, but wasn't really like diving in as yet. Now, the most common one is a digital challenger, means that they have a plan in place to digitally transform their business. They are adopting some sort of hybrid cloud type of technology to get there, as well as looking at how do they take their investments and improve on short-term goals. So that was the difference. Everything was short-term. The most crucial one for us was digital native, meaning that business has a holistic digital plan in place. They're adopting cloud technology a lot faster, and they are thriving in that environment. And that was really interesting to me, that we had the 4 maturity stages. Now, if we look at South Africa, and we fall in the BRICS type of market looking at Latin America, 54% are in digital indifference, meaning stage 1. 45% are in digital observer, with only 1% in that digital native. Now, what was another fact that was really interesting, the rest of the world are seeing a 6 to 7% being in digital native, and next would be the digital challenger. The guys that are in digital native stage already are seeing 8 times revenue growth. A digital observer is only seeing 2 times.
Sure.
So the investment bet that these digital native organizations did in digital transformation has been rewarding for them, because they can see the revenue of 8 times % growth. The other thing that was really interesting for me was that based on economic activities, those that jump from digital challenger to digital native and beyond, we will see a 5.6% in our GDP growth.
Sure.
And that means creating more job opportunities, employing more people, you know, the economy state that we're in. So looking at technology, as the rest of us said, gives us that leap in our business. But we don't need to complicate it. I want to understand that it doesn't need to be complex. We don't expect you guys to be like IT gurus. That's why organizations like us are around. So that's some of the things that came out. The next interesting thing was, what are small businesses going to do in the next 18 months?
Right.
Number one, looking at their processes, being it online or in the digital space, e-commerce type of platforms. Number two, how do they automate their processes? Andrew said, how do they streamline things behind the scenes? How do they adopt collaboration, security, and cloud technology to enable them on their journey? Another important factor is that, and we all saw this through the pandemic, what were the key things that everyone struggled with mainly? We all started working differently. Cash flow became a problem.
Yeah.
Your staff productivity became an issue. And we've been trying to tell the world that technology can take those type of things, but the pandemic forced people to transition very quickly. So the study, those are some of the findings that came out of the study, and it's just interesting that as South Africa, and we take the stats, that we're so far behind.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be so complex.
So I think, and it's absolutely incredible, and I think I love the way how you've simplistically put it for us. And I suppose the question for all of us is that, are you digitally indifferent? Are you an observer? Are you a challenger, or are you a digital native? And the underlying call to action therein is, do you want to realize 8% growth? Or are you happy at sitting at 0% or 1%, or even in the worst case regressing, because the world has moved on? I mean, there was somebody, I was listening to a conversation where the question was, what was the biggest influencer of moving your business into digital transformation? Was it the CEO? Was it the CTO? Was it the CIO? And I think the answer was, it was COVID-19, right? And so this is the place we find ourselves in. And I suppose the call to action is, are you going to raise your game? And if you are, how are you going to move from becoming an observer within the context of your business and your own aspirations to eventually get to a point where you have a plan in place? Because I think that's part of what's missing. So in the next couple of weeks, so we're going to take this framework that Shelly's shared with us, we're going to deconstruct it, we're going to break it down, and we're going to look at pathways towards becoming a digital native. So do stay tuned for that. But additionally, I want to bring your voice in here just a little bit. So you spoke to us in your role about being almost the channel, being the distributor. How then, given this reality that Shelly has painted, and assuming we're all, chomping at the bit saying, I want to get onto this journey, how does Axiz then fit in? How does Axiz help us get started?
Axiz helps for small businesses by extension through our certified and registered partners. We approach digital transformation openly and freely. Earlier this year, we launched our dedicated Cisco Small Business Portal, where we offer our partners an ecosystem of products and services, where the partners can then service small businesses and their technological needs. We also have digitally transformed our offerings to our partners. So we have a marketplace as well as a Cisco market specifically for dedicated Cisco product and services as well. So, we want to make it as simple and easy for our partners to do business and to service the small business owner. So we want to be able to give them access freely, anytime, which is available to them right now. For them to go on and spend that time and effort on building their business and, of course, servicing the end customer market.
And I would imagine that the big question with other entrepreneurs watching right now is like, oh, so how? How do I get this? Where do I go? Can you direct us and point us anyway?
Yes. In working in a channel model, we service our partners. So our first point is to enable our partners, get them registered, ensure that they are resource driven as well as technologically driven as us. And we partner with them by offering our technical services. We also offer our marketing services to our partners. So everything is online. And with the automation being so vastly incredible, our partners have access to us at their fingertips.
Fantastic.
So if I can just come
Yeah.
in, so I just want to add to what Nadesh is saying, is that obviously your viewers out there, if they are interested and want to take the next step, is to contact the Axiz Cisco BU, and the team are willing to help and guide them where they need to go and which partner would suit them to get them on their journey.
Fantastic. So as you're going to be seeing now on your screen is just some of those contact details. So if you do want to get in touch with that Axiz BU, it's really trying to make these services available at your fingertips. But I think it would be a little bit ingenuous of us to have this conversation without talking a little bit about the realities and the challenges. So Andrew, I want to bring your voice in here, is that small business is not, in South Africa we say it's not pap and vlees, right? It's tough. You're trying to build a business, you're trying to make, quick calls, whether you are going to bring on additional resources or you're going to do it all yourself. Are you going to be the tea lady and the deliverer and the marketing lady? So, it's a lot. So let's talk a little bit about the realities and the challenges of small businesses in South Africa.
I think the challenge that small businesses face now are not vastly different from the challenges that small businesses have always faced. And sometimes we subscribe to a narrative that we are different or that we have a unique set of circumstances. And I think that's true. But everywhere in the world has a unique set of circumstances. What the work that Cisco has done is they've helped crystallize what are some of the common misconceptions are that we need to, because I think, or I believe that once you know about it, you can deal with it. But if it's invisible, it's very hard to contend with it. So it's access to funding and capital. We all want to have a business, we just don't know where to get the money from. Or we have a business, we don't know how to get the next deal. It's access to skills. It's difficult. All of us, even in our business, as big as we are, as influential as we are, it's hard to get the right people into your business. And so there's a number. What is technology? What are the skills for the technology? What technology should I choose? What should my organization look like? A fear of the unknown. So there's various challenges I think that small businesses face. And I would like to say that it's similar with big businesses. We have the same struggles as a big business in the sector. What's important is to realize that we don't have to do it alone. We don't have to. There is information out there. There are organizations such as Cisco, as Axiz, that are prepared to journey with you. So I would advise small business that despite there being challenges, there's a lot of companies that have recognized these challenges, that have put systems, tools, and processes in place to assist you. And the most important thing is to acknowledge what the struggle is, that you have the struggle, and then reach out for the assistance and contact. There's contact details that are on the screen just now. There's other information. There's a lot of content in the analytics that Cisco has done. Review it, go through it, and then pick up the phone and we'll assist them.
So I absolutely love that. Pick up the phone and we're here to assist you. Now, I love the candid response there to say, look, it certainly isn't easy, but there is a support system. There is an ecosystem of people wanting to journey with you. And imagining that journey is successful, Jacques, and small business can actually live up to its full potential and actually become the lifeblood of the economy. How does technology enable that potential? How does technology allow us to unlock that potential of small business?
And I think Andrew sketches quite a vivid picture when you talk about the problem of being a small business, and capital and accesses are certainly most of those, cover most of those, and also the access to skill and so forth. But what happens when a small business embarks on this journey, and where Axiz and Cisco plays a role, is to be able to take the barriers down that they face in terms of the next step. You talk about next step, do I employ somebody? Next step, do I move to bigger premises? Next step, do I actually go for that training? Next step, do I actually buy that? So that next step, wherever you are as a small business, technology is that enabler. And if you think about business, the problem that all small businesses have is that their income and cost rise at the same line, right? If you get more money in, your costs go up. And so there's only one way to break that line. The relationship between your costs and your income is with technology. That's when you stop writing the letter. That's when you start using technology to do something. That's when, and because that's the kind of defeatist road of small business is the cost and the income line. So it's a little bit more complex than it looks like, but the simplistic answer is to embark on a technology journey.
Sure.
And we are here to enable that journey. And that's where you get the successful next step. What is the next?
Because you're enhancing productivity, your efficiencies are all coming through.
Yes.
All my basic accounting and economics is kicking in, right? But I think we can all relate to this idea of, as you make more money, you suddenly see that cost line going up as well. And that's a terrible place to be stuck in, because you don't really feel like you're really growing.
That's right.
You're really growing, but you're not growing, the balance sheet, if you will, of your business. And what I'm hearing you saying is technology is part of the answer to that balance sheet.
Exactly right.
So I'm looking forward to us unpacking this concept a little bit more to make sure that we're all on the right trajectory, because I think it's a really incredible one. I want to stay real. I really want to stay real, because I don't want to talk about fluffy stuff. Let's talk about the digital divide. Because in South Africa, we have urban parts of the country, we have rural parts of the country, we've got uneven access to technology, we've got uneven access to connectivity, we've got infrastructure challenges. So, and we know that's not unique to South Africa. On the continent broadly, the digital divide is real. So I suppose the question is, what do we do about this? We can't change the fact right now that we don't have the infrastructure. So what do we do right now when this is the reality? Imagine I'm in a township and I'm wanting to run my business from home. Can I still do it?
Absolutely. I'll use an analogy. I'm from the country of Durban, actually, actually Tongaat.
Yeah.
And I remember back in Adeshini's day, when people used to come from Johannesburg with cassettes of music, because it was launched in Johannesburg and it's only coming to Tongaat a few months later. Digital technology has leveled the playing field. A movie releases the premiere night in Los Angeles, it's available on a mobile phone in Tongaat right now. So technology is this great equalizer or normalizer. I call it a foggy forest. Lots of people go like, what's inside the forest? You'll never know until you step in. And I think this digital divide is not a construct of our minds. It's a reality that we live with, but it's not something that we have to stare at and hope to understand. We have to plunge in or step in into it. Walk into a foggy forest, you can't see the trees, but when you're in the forest, you can see the tree and then you know how to navigate. But if you stand outside trying to figure your pathway through it, it's very difficult. So what organizations, big or small organizations, need to realize is that there's a few things that digital is signaling to us. One is that in this data-driven world, you're either the product or you're the one selling the product. It's all about the data-driven world. You're a small business or a big business, but now you've got access. The David and Goliath story, what technology has allowed you to do is that you can be a small business with access to exactly the same technology that a large business has access to. Previously, you had to make significant investments in people, time, and resources to get that capability, but now with the transformed world that we live in, and it's happened. The world has transformed. We know it all, right? We all got phones, we all stream, etc. And in this transformed world, we've got access to that technology. We've got these companies have created so. We've got access to the knowledge pools. We've got access to all of these things. And we've got to realize that unless we embrace and we become the guy or the organization selling, we are the product that somebody else is going to be selling to. And then how do we then evolve our business models? One of the things is we can't solve all the problems. Technology has taught us that you have to put an app on a device in a location with some sort of connectivity to be capable to provide a service. So you can't solve all the problems yourself. This thing about open innovation is that I don't have to be competing with the whole world.
Right.
I can actually partner intelligently to execute on a strategy, and I don't have to figure the whole thing out on my own. The other thing is that small businesses or businesses have this entrepreneurial flair. they are able to adapt quickly, they're able to transform quickly, they're able to take on something, and they're allowed to experiment. That's a wonderful opportunity in this digital divide that we can leverage. Rather than saying, oh my gosh, we're living in this world, it's like, oh my gosh, we're living in this world. So I think the digital divide is real, that we may not have all the capability inside of ourselves naturally, but I think access to that capability is what is really going to close the divide. But as long as we stand outside the forest, it's going to be very murky.
Sure. It's a powerful analogy, and I love how you talk about partnering intelligently. And I suppose that's the question we should be asking ourselves, like, how are you partnering intelligently, and how are you seeing, are you still looking at the forest from the outside and it's all foggy, or have you taken the step inside the forest and tried to find your way there? So I know that one of the questions, I certainly had this question, and I'm sure you might have had the question too, is that how do I get the right product at the right time, at the right price? Because obviously we don't have the resources sometimes or the capability to go buy massive systems as small business. So Jacques, how do you get that balance right? That as a small business, you're getting, you are investing in as part of your plan, the thing that's going to make a positive impact in your business at the level that you are and really move you to the next level, not going to sort of bleed out your balance sheet. How do you make that decision, and how should we be thinking about that?
Well, all you need is a Deshni's phone number. She's got a whole horde of reseller partners that's exactly equipped to solve that issue. But I think it's something more than that, and Andrew is alluding to that. The world we're living in now seems to live off collaboration. It seems to live off ecosystems. It seems to live off communities of understanding, or where they like to go, what they like to buy, and so forth. And if you talk about traditional labor movements, they take mass action to maintain a status quo, where collaboration is conspiring to get out of here. Not to stay here. We want to get out of here. And I think that's the secret of today. The secret of today is to find these communities. And certainly in Axiz, it's part of our DNA, is to build this collaborative and collaborative environment. If you talk to Cisco, they talk about collaboration. You cannot figure it out by yourself. It's not that it's that complex, but it's that we need each other's learning to take those fast steps. We need to get forward. I can't take all the time in the world to figure out how it's going to happen. By then, the world's passed me by. So the idea is to work into the ecosystem. The idea is to see where are like-minded people. The idea is to see where all of us can lever off each other's technology, our understanding, our learnings, and of course the resources that are available inside an ecosystem that as singularity we don't have necessarily access to that. So I would encourage people and small businesses to lock into these collaborative ecosystems that are out there, and we're certainly one of those where they can get access to those resources.
And it sounds like, Jacques, it also is about a mindset shift, right? So, just sort of breaking the way we think about collaboration and reaching out and being part of an ecosystem.
Absolutely.
And seeing that as an enabler rather than competition, because we're actually growing together, right?
Absolutely.
So as we begin to wrap up the conversation, what are the big questions, Shelley, that you think small business owners should be asking? After a conversation like this, what are the questions that you think they should be wrestling with, that they should be grappling with right now?
Okay. Well, Nozi, the first thing I want to do is, we spoke about being a digital challenger, and that's where you want to be in your business. We have put together a 7-step guide of a journey you can take on this to become a digital challenger, which we will share after this session. But if I was asking you as a small business owner, number one I would say is, do you have an empowered workforce? So are your employees sharing ideas very quickly? Are they able to contact each other? And more importantly, securely. Because now we're doing everything digitally, we need to make sure that this is all secured. The information we're sharing is secure. So first thing, can your employees work, no matter where they are able to be productive? The second thing I would say is you need a robust network. Everything starts at the foundation of a network. And if you don't have that network in place, however it be on an on-premise type of environment or a cloud, the Axiz Cisco team will help with that decision making. But you need to start your business on the foundation of a secure network. And I'm going to give you an example. Small businesses, all things security is not key for us.
Yeah.
We don't need it. The big banks and everyone spends that.
Until you get wiped out.
Exactly. So the hackers and those really people out there that don't want, have nothing better to do than like create chaos in your business, they've decided that small business is actually the key target.
Yeah.
Much easier to go and, and a small business can, if they had to be like hacked or something, could take their whole business down. If people knew that there was credit card information or whatever it might be. The third thing that I would say is, how are you getting to your customer is important. Customers want ease of use. They want to be able to, and I'm going to use an analogy, like if I load your page as a small business, it better come up with speed.
Yeah.
Because if it takes too long, I'm moving on to your competitor. So you need to look at your digital footprint that you have and how are you using those tools and technology. Very, very cool tool we have, you're going to ask me, is I said you don't have to be an IT expert if you're a small business. We have put together a product selector tool. It's online. You answer 5 questions like what stage of your business are, how many employees do you have, and you just tick those 5 questions and it will bring the product sets up that you require.
And we're putting that link on screen right now. So if you want to go and do that quick online test for yourself, see it on screen right now. So that will help you make a decision about what's right for you, right?
Great.
So there we have it. So I'm about to wrap it all up. And the way I want to wrap it up is we've got these incredible minds, as you've seen around me today. I just want them to each share either a piece of advice or an opportunity that they think we should be grabbing with both hands. And all of this is in the spirit of raising our game. I've said it quite unequivocally. If really, really the winners in the market today are going to be the small, the lean, the fast, I don't want to be part of the losing side. So I want to raise my game and make sure that I'm part of the winning team. So let me start that side. Start with Deshni. Either a piece of advice or an opportunity that you think we should be thinking about.
Sure, Nozi. So my advice to you as a small business is to firstly have a plan, have a digital strategy, and as you execute your strategy, tweak it and make it so that it can evolve to your needs, so that you are still kept sustainable. I mean, you don't want your expenses to be as high as your income all the time. So have your plan of where you want to be today, where you want to be next month, where you want to be in the next year. And then also to choose the right partner that's going to have the innovation to lead you and give you the customer service that you're actually looking for.
Lovely. So I love that. Have a plan. Make sure you have a plan. Where are you going? Where are you going to be a year from now, 2 years from now, 3, 5 years from now? And we know that, the 5-year plan is no longer, it's become obsolete. But what hasn't become obsolete is the principle of planning and being open to the flexibility and the fluidity that the environment demands. And of course, are you connected to the right partners? Jacques, what are you leaving us with?
Talk to your customer. If you want to embark on a digital journey, it's something that you do with the customer. It has to benefit the customer, it has to translate into value for the customer, and the best way to do it is to grab your customer's hand and go on the journey with your customer. And as I said, get into the ecosystem. But we can't leave the customer out there and dream up things that we think we should do.
Yeah, we get too excited about the technology for ourselves and we forget who we're doing it for. Such an incredible point. Last, Shelley, before we get to Andrew?
So I would say just don't dive in head first. Do your homework, understand the technology, who is the OEM or partner that you want to journey with, because you don't want to create multiple pain points in your business by trying to manage various technology vendors. And I just want to leave it with one saying that when small businesses are stronger, we're all stronger.
Oh, I love that. Do your homework, and when small businesses are stronger, we're all stronger. Andrew, final word.
Yeah, I think the guys have covered everything. I will put it, my personal perspective is, my attitude as a digital guy in my business is, I don't think we have the luxury of being experimental. I think we have to be intentional. And if we design our businesses intentionally, we know which customers we want to talk to, we know what kind of relevance we want to have to customers, then the choices become simple. But if we have an attitude of I'll try, I'll see, and then I'll do, I think it's not the wisest thing to do in a digitally transformed world. So that my advice is be intentional.
Sure, I absolutely love that. Be intentional in whatever journey you're on and in the destination that you're headed into against the plan that Adeshni has shared with us. Are you being intentional? I think that's where we wrap it, guys. Thank you so much. This has been such an incredible conversation. I've learned so much. Again, I'm always scribbling notes throughout these conversations because I'm taking this and I'm taking it into my own business, and I certainly hope that you're going to be taking it into yours. Thank you so much, guys, once again for joining us. Remember, this is an opportunity to raise your game.